Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of underage girls in Florida. It's a case that ended without any federal charges ever being filed against the sex offender.
And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American.
From Bill Clinton to Donald Trump, from Bill Gates and Elon Musk to Jeff Bezos and Sergey Brin, from Noam Chomsky and Larry Summers to Alan Dershowitz, the newly upsealed Epstein files drag an extraordinary cast of global power players into the same shadowy orbit.
Could you please state your full name?
I'm Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and my residence address is 6100 Red Hook Boulevard in Virgin Islands.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
Even Imran Khan appears unexpectedly in Epstein's private rants. Politicians, tech titans, academics, diplomats, billionaires. The names alone read like a who's who of the 21st century. What did they know? Why were they there? And what do these documents reveal about power, secrecy, and the world Epstein built? What if a single man's wealth, influence, and connections hid something far darker? A network of abuse and exploitation that stretched to some of the world's most powerful. This is the story of Jeffrey Epstein, a financier who fell from elite circles into infamy, and of the files, the secrets, and the quest for justice that may yet reshape how we see power. Jeffrey Epstein began his life in Brooklyn. By the 1980s, after a stint at a Wall Street firm, he launched his own money management business targeting ultra-wealthy clients. His wealth swelled, allowing him to buy an opulent Manhattan mansion and private Caribbean islands. He walked in circles of the very elite, financiers, royalty, politicians, celebrities, and built a social network few could rival. In 2008, he escaped heavy punishment via a controversial plea deal, 18 months jail, day release, and a secret immunity pact, sparking outrage that the rich play by different rules. By mid-2019, a new federal indictment on sex trafficking charges finally cast the spotlight again on Epstein's hidden world. Days later, Epstein was found dead in his New York jail cell on August 10, 2019, closing the chapter on a trial that the world never saw. His death caused a bigger controversy. Survivors and investigators sought answers about who else in high places might have been involved. Behind the headlines, massive bundles of materials, emails, financial ledgers, flight logs, diary entries, photos, and more called as Epstein files lay sealed in courtrooms. In late 2025, Congress intervened. The Epstein Files Transparency Act passed unanimously, forcing the Justice Department to release all non-sensitive Epstein-related documents. What is emerging now is a portrayal of global power structures, a mirror to how money and secrecy shield abuse. Leaked photos of Epstein's famed Little St. James Island in the US Virgin Islands, nicknamed Pedophile Island, are especially disturbing. Other Congress-released images show a dental exam chair in a bedroom and walls papered with masks and cryptic words like power, deception, plots, scrawled on chalkboards. These visuals, taken in 2020, after Epstein's death, underscore how his wealth built a hidden luxury retreat. Epstein's financial footprint also re-emerged. Flight logs and bank records at Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and other firms show complex movements of money and people. Congressional investigators demanded full transparency by the December 19, 2025 deadline, which echoed FBI demands from 2019. The Epstein saga has unfolded like a globe-trotting thriller, and it involves a cast of very public figures. Many high-profile individuals have been mentioned or implicated in the unsealed records and news reports. Not all allegations are proven, but all have reignited scrutiny. Former President Bill Clinton features repeatedly in the Epstein narrative. Unsealed court documents and flight logs confirm Clinton flew on Epstein's private plane on multiple trips in the early 2000s. A deposition by Epstein associate Johanna Hoberry quotes Epstein saying, "Clinton likes them young," referring to minor girls, but Clinton's office strongly denies any involvement. As of January 2024, news outlets were careful to note that there is no evidence Bill or Hillary Clinton participated in Epstein's crimes. When allegations circulated online, Clinton's spokesperson called them terrible crimes he knew nothing about. In short, Clinton's interactions with Epstein have drawn fire mostly from unverified claims, not from documents of actual wrongdoing. President Donald Trump also had an early social connection to Epstein in the 1990s. They once traveled in similar circles in Palm Beach and New York. Some of Epstein's now unsealed files simply list Trump as an acquaintance, but no evidence has emerged that Trump was ever involved in Epstein's sex trafficking. In fact, Trump says he severed ties with Epstein decades ago. In 2019, Trump insisted he had not spoken to Epstein in 15 years. Among intellectual and tech circles, Epstein also cultivated relationships with leading thinkers and tech entrepreneurs. Notably, his correspondence with linguist Noam Chomsky came as a surprise. Newly released emails and letters show that Chomsky maintained contact with Epstein long after Epstein's 2008 conviction. In one undated letter, Chomsky wrote that meeting Epstein a half-dozen years ago led to many long and often in-depth discussions and was a most valuable experience. Chomsky even commended Epstein's wide-ranging connections. He recounted Epstein phoning the diplomat behind the Oslo Accords for Chomsky and arranging a meeting between Chomsky and former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Chomsky later said he never accepted money directly and that he valued the intellectual exchange. Chomsky is known as a fierce critic of power. However, this helped Epstein showing himself as a knowledgeable patron to even left-leaning intellectuals. In another news, Business Insider reported that in 2011, Epstein attended a private billionaire's dinner at a TED conference in California alongside tech luminaries. The guest list that night reportedly included Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, Tesla or SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, Google co-founder Sergey Brin, Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer, and others. Moreover, documents and news articles tie Epstein to Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. Epstein sought Gates' money on multiple occasions, and even after Epstein's death, Gates described their meetings as a huge mistake. Internal records showed Epstein had even brokered a $2 million donation from Gates to MIT's Media Lab. Even Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary and Harvard president, and an OpenAI board member, resigned from the OpenAI board in late 2025 after emails with Epstein surfaced. In summary, Epstein's web extended deeply into academia and the big tech. Though none of these tech leaders are accused of direct wrongdoing with Epstein's crimes, the optics raised public questions about why such influential people socialized with a convicted sex offender. These revelations emphasize that Epstein's influence was not confined to shady island parties. He was an accepted player in elite science and tech philanthropy, at least until 2019. The Epstein's files also touch on global politics, sometimes in unsettling ways. For example, in July 2018, just after Imran Khan was elected Pakistan's prime minister, a newly released batch of Epstein emails shows that Epstein ranting about Khan. He wrote that Khan was a much greater threat to peace than any of Erdogan, Khomeini, Xi Jinping, or Putin. He called Khan really bad news, a devout Islamist, and a wacko, referencing Khan's marriage ties and suggesting Khan led a cult of personality. But Imran Khan himself had no known connection to Epstein. Another flashpoint has been Israel and espionage rumors. Some speculated that Epstein was secretly working for a foreign intelligence service, often implying Israeli Mossad, to gather blackmail material on Americans. This theory spread especially after 2025, when media figures like Tucker Carlson openly asked if Epstein was working on behalf of Israel.
And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American.
However, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, who oversaw Mossad, publicly rebuked the idea. In fact, mainstream intelligence and media outlets have found no credible evidence that any government used Epstein to blackmail US politicians, bureaucrats, or military officers. To date, the US Justice Department says these espionage tales are unproven slander and lies. Alan Dershowitz, the veteran US academic known for both his defense of high-profile clients and his outspoken support of Israel, also appears in the Epstein narrative. The Anadolu News report that mentioned him stressed he is an attorney slated to defend Israel at the International Court of Justice. Dershowitz's presence in the files has been seized upon by some as evidence of an Israeli connection, but newspapers simply list him as one among many associates. Throughout 2025, media coverage has often distinguished between verified information and unproven allegations in the Epstein story, as I explained to you above. On the other hand, credible new evidence continues to emerge about actual crimes and cover-ups. In late 2025, Justice Department sources leaked that the FBI was investigating 2019's jail suicide, CCTV glitches, and guard logs are being re-examined after videos seem to show an unmonitored hallway. Meanwhile, the court documents released so far list hundreds of women and girls who accused Epstein or his associates of abuse or trafficking. Many victims have watched Congress's work, some hopeful that justice will finally catch up. Representatives, like reporter Robert Garcia, have vowed to fight until we deliver justice for the survivors. As 2025 ends, Epstein's files are the subject of fevered attention. On one hand, they answer long-asked questions, confirming Epstein's extensive ties and shedding light on hidden spaces he controlled. On the other, they challenge us with painful questions about power. Which institutions failed to stop Epstein? Why did so many privileged people look the other way? Perhaps the most lasting legacy will be legal. If all documents are released, new prosecutions or civil claims could follow. Already, some of Epstein's named associates have resigned posts or had credentials stripped in light of the disclosures. Ultimately, the world will judge whether public faith in equal justice holds up under this scrutiny.